Hello and welcome! This is Mouse Gunner, and in this video I'm going to be playing a game that I've been keeping my eye on for a little while now, and that is the brand new Master of Orion. Now I have previous experience with the Master of Orion series, playing all three of the games, although I will admit most of my experience comes from the third game, which some of you might laugh at that because that's considered to be the worst of the series, but from my experience, I had a friend that was a big fan of Master of Orion 2, and I, at the time, did not play it. So when I heard Master of Orion 3 was coming out, I got really excited about it and psyched up, and I bought the game very early on. And at the time, I thought it was an okay game, but it definitely had a lot of deficiencies. Well, we have a new Master of Orion game, and hopefully it is not following in the footsteps of that third game. And from what I gather, this is not really considered a sequel, so this isn't technically Master of Orion 4, although it is the fourth game. I think it's more of a reboot. As you can see here, they're just calling it Master of Orion. They're not calling it Master of Orion 4 or anything like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here with the single-player mode. Now, I have not played the game at all, although I have seen a little bit of gameplay beforehand, but just no personal experience myself. So let's start a new game here.
Hailing from the cloudy planet Altair, the proud Alkari are an old race of avian hominids. Although well known for their peaceful disposition, they are fierce in combat and will rarely back out of a fight if they believe they have just cause. The Skylord rules over the flock uncontested. He is the de facto commander of all Alkari fleet. After ages of internal conflict and faced with dwindling natural resources on their home planet of Earth, humanity finally came together to form a consolidated government, replacing the many nations once dotting its political landscape. This new government brought unification, eroding long-held distinctions based on race, color, creed, and gender. Humanity thrived and at long last reached for the stars. Now, out of the Sol system, the human republic arises.
Okay, so I didn't want to interrupt the voice acting there, and I did turn the voice acting up quite a bit, so it might be pretty loud, but I wanted you guys to be able to hear it in this first impression video and get an idea of what it's like. From what I've seen, it looks like it's very high quality. Now, these are the current playable races, and if I haven't mentioned it, this game is currently in early access, so we don't have the full release version yet. And because it is a early access game, only some of the races are currently playable. Now, you might have noticed when I was selecting different races that each of those races has a voice-acted introduction. So if I were to click on another one, we'd have yet another bit of voice acting. So I'm going to kind of avoid that for now, and I'm probably going to go with the more boring start of the humans. But we can see there are some grayed out races that will come later, the Klakons, the Silicoids, the Meklar. I can't really make this one out. I think it says Darlock, which, if I remember correctly, are the spy race. But currently we have the humans, the Alkari, the Bulrathi, the Mershan, the Sakra, and the Cylons. And this is kind of why I get the feeling that this is more of a reboot, because they're introducing a lot of the original races, although I don't remember if there was maybe one or two other ones, although sometimes I get confused with Master of Orion 2, which races were in Master of Orion 2 and which ones were in Master of Orion 1. But we don't see some of the races that we saw in Master of Orion 3. Again, that's not considered to be one of the best out of the series, but so we're not really adding races, we're just using pre-existing ones here, is kind of what I was trying to get at. So, with the current state of the game, you have a few traits with every race. So we have some penalties. For instance, counter-espionage is a issue for us. So we're more susceptible for spy actions. Now, I don't think spy actions are currently working in the game, but if they were, we would have a negative 25% penalty when someone is targeting us for spy actions. But diplomacy-wise, we have improved negotiations, which is going to help us there. And we have a starting tech, which I think every race starts with a tech unlock. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the game. All right, so we can set up the galaxy type to either circle or spiral galaxy. We'll go with the spiral galaxy. And there's different sizes. We'll go with medium because the races are limited and we can't do a normal full 8-player game. We're just going to do a medium size, and honestly, that gets us to encounter the other races quicker so we can get an idea of what that interaction is like. Difficulty level is not currently selectable, but it's just set on more or less average or medium, so they obviously probably haven't finished the AI balancing yet. We can set up our AI opponents, which currently I think 5 is the max. Yes, it is. And I'm not really sure what Big Bang Seed is probably, so if you wanted to save the seed so somebody else can play the same seed you have, you could probably put a number in here, and then all they would need to do is copy it. So I'm not going to do that for this video. Let's go ahead and start the game. Actually, let's look at the advanced settings. All right, so we've got random events selected. This is an interesting element of the game, too. You can select something called pixel ships, which I think is going to give you more of a retro visual appeal. We're not going to do that at first, but maybe that's something we'll play with a little bit later. We have pirates turned on. We have monsters turned on. We have racial traits turned on. So if you don't like the idea that some races have bonuses in some areas and some have negatives and so on, you can level the playing field by turning this off, which I don't think the other games did, so that's a nice feature if that's what you want. Balanced starting conditions. We have the different victory types so far. Do they give us a description here? No, they don't. Well, I'm just going to assume here we have diplomatic, which, if I remember from the previous game, you more or less won by winning the vote to the Galactic Council. And then excellence is probably just military superiority, wiping out all your opponents. So we have those two. I could be wrong with excellence. Maybe excellence is something else. Again, I'm not getting a description here, so maybe that will be something we can see once we launch the game. Okay.
The Human Republic. Fulfilling a dream once thought impossible, all of mankind has come together as a single world of traders and diplomats, explorers and scientists, pressing toward the final frontier. Venturing forth from their blue planet Earth, they now seek to explore space, discover ancient civilizations, and coexist peacefully with their neighbors from a position of strength and solidarity.
So we can see, even though this is an early access game, the production value is quite high.
Welcome, President. I am Victoria, your personal advisor. It is my job to help you manage our people's needs and keep you updated on what's happening on the furthest reaches of our dominion.
And I must apologize ahead of time if the audio balancing is off. This is the first time I played the game, and as I said, I cranked up the voice acting so that you guys can really clearly hear it. And you might actually recognize some of the voice actors involved with this game, as the narrator especially you might have recognized. But I'm not going to give it away. I'll leave that for you guys to figure out. Alright, so we have a little advisor here, and I'm going to keep this stuff on because I haven't played, and I have really no idea what I'm doing. And as much as I have experience with all 3 of the Master of Orion games, I'm not going to say that I was particularly good at playing those games. Okay, so here's the Sol system. We have Sol Prime. I'm curious if we could rename that to actually be the Earth, but maybe we can't do that just yet. Alright, so let's click on that. Alright, so this is very reminiscent of Master of Orion 2 and the way that you set up your population to work different fields. So, we've got food production and research, which was more or less very similar to the way it was in Master of Orion 2. It looks like you get diminishing returns for putting workers in certain areas. So, for instance, we start off with 4 food for one worker, another 4 food for a second worker, but 3 food for the third, and then so on. Same thing in production. Now, in Master Orion 2, there was an element of pollution, which would have brought down what production you could actually get out of your workers, but it seems like they've separated out that stat to be over here now. So, is the result of industrial waste in a colony. Each biome can withstand certain maximum pollution level before degrading. Several structures can be built to clean up pollution and keep the environment sustainable. All right, so that's something apparently we're going to have to keep an eye on, and I'm not exactly sure how we accrue that, possibly just by producing things. And it looks like currently we're working on a colony ship, which we'll have done in 1 turn, so I might as well just let that complete. I'm curious if they're departing from the norm of Master Orion, because normally speaking, you start with 2 scouts and 1 colony ship in space. So maybe that's a little bit different. Instead, we have a colony ship pre-queued that will complete once this turn is over. That's not necessarily a big deal, because usually speaking, you might not actually send the colony ship out until you have an idea of surrounding space and what's out there. Alright, so we have BC or billion credits as our currency. We're currently gaining 24, it looks like, and we start with 50. We have ground defenses, so this is our Marines on the planet, and we have our population. So we have 8 out of a possible 11 on the planet. Now, we might be able to get technology to expand that. As we see here, it says inhabitable cells 11, planet size limit 12. So our planet could normally hold 12 population points, but for whatever reason, we're only able to inhabit 11. So, for instance, the polar ice caps are probably considered not to be inhabitable or something like that. All right, so I think that's everything there is to see. Let's go ahead and just click on... Well, you know what? I want this to complete, so I don't want to mess with it. So we'll look at that later. Let's see what Manage Structures does. Okay, does this show us what buildings are already built? So if we click on that, that's our capital. All right, and that gives us an idea of stuff that's going on. I'm going to assume this is our command points here, because that symbol matches. So our capital gives us 10 command points, and we kind of see we also have a star base in space orbiting the planet, probably. So that gives us another 5 for a total of 15. And then we have some scouts and some frigates that are consuming. So that's different too. A frigate is probably a military ship. So let's see, we have marine barracks. How do you... Oh, okay, you just click and drag to rotate. And there is our star base. And that's currently what we have constructed on our capital from what I can see. That's a pretty interesting way of showing the different structures that you have built on the planet. Maybe not the most user-friendly if you start having a lot of buildings out there, because you're going to have to really search for these buildings and know what the icons mean. Although they do have these little pop-ups here. You know, that symbolizes a government building. That probably symbolizes a military building. And we have another military building here. So you kind of get an idea. That is an interesting user interface there. We also have a morale element here. And let's see what this does. So this represents the percentage of your population willing to work. When there's a drop in morale, the dissatisfied part of the population will stop working. So my base morale is 80%. Because I have a capital in the star system, I get a 30% bonus, but I get a negative 20% because of taxes. So normally it would be 110, which I'm not sure if that's really a morale you can have. Maybe 100 is the cap. At least that would make sense. And the taxes brings that down to 90. All right, that makes sense. Or at least I understand it. We'll have to see how it works. And it looks like we have another planet in our solar system. So they're kind of doing something similar to the way Master Orion 2 and Master of Orion 1 worked, in that the solar systems have limited planets. Now, in Master of Orion 1, every solar system could only have 1 planet. But Master of Orion 2, they expanded that. But the difference being with Master Orion 3 is the solar system could have a bunch of planets in it. This has kind of limited things down. Probably makes it a little bit easier to keep track of things. But the one thing I'm noticing is this planet in our solar system is not explored, so we probably have to send
Excuse me, President.
we probably have to send one of our scouts over to explore. And that's pretty different than the way the other games worked, in that normally when you moved into a solar system, you would scout all of the planets in that system. Now I am noticing over here, this solar system over here has... Trying to see if there's ways of scrolling. There we go, other than my mouse. All right, so this solar system over here has many, many planets as compared to our solar system. Oh, that's interesting. The ships are rotating around to match the movement of my mouse. But Ptolemy over here has several planets as opposed to just the 2. So maybe I'm wrong with my thinking that this is more limited. But obviously the Sol system would have more than 2 planets normally. Okay, so what does she have to say? Exploration is paramount to our success. Move a fleet, left-click it to select it, and then right-click a destination. Okay. All right, so we have 3 possible destinations: a planet, a warp point, or a star or anomaly. So technically, I guess that's 4. All right, so we want to split our fleet. So we left-click the fleet, and then select any ships you want to split. Okay, so just like that. So we should only have the scout selected, and we see that it's highlighted. So we want to send the scout over here. We just right-click, and there it goes. Now, interestingly enough, I wonder if that's done with its exploration. But in any case, what planet did we get? We've got Sol 2, which is a gas giant, and as a result, probably not inhabitable. At least not at this stage of the game. Can we continue to move this ship? Curious. Can we move to this warp point? No. Okay, so that completed its turn. I was kind of wondering what this little pie chart meant, but maybe that means it's a scout, because it looks kind of like a scanner. Let's see what happens if we just have a frigate. Okay, yeah, see, that designates it's a scout because it has a little scanner. The frigate is more of a military ship, so it has a little bit of a different symbol there. All right, so let's send our other scout to Ptolemy. You know what, we might as well send both ships to Ptolemy here because we have a lot of planets to explore. And then we'll send the other scout over to this system, which looks like it's empty, because you kind of get an idea... If you look at the solar system, you kind of get an idea of what kind of planets it has, or how many planets it has. But you don't get an idea of what they are until you explore them. So very different, again, from the previous games. Let's go ahead and hop over to this warp point. And it's going to take... How long do we... I'm going to assume these dots are turns, so it's going to take 1, 2, 3 turns to get there. I'm curious, would it have given me an idea? Yeah, okay, there. See, it says 3 turns before I click. You might not be able to see because of the thing that says warp point there, but just underneath that it says 3 turns. Alright, so I think we get an idea of how that works. So now we need to choose our research, which is saying over here, but I'm assuming maybe if we click the beaker here. So we've got Empire, Research, Ship Design, Diplomacy, Path to Victory. I might want to check that out first. Planets and Fleets. So let's check out Path to Victory first. So, Excellence Victory. So, have the highest score when the last turn ends. Okay, so you can set a turn limit, which it looks like we have 500 turns, so that's a decent amount of time. Although, with a Master of Orion game, hundreds of turns sometime go by pretty quickly. At least in the relative scope of the game. So, currently, everybody has 0 scores, so nothing going on there. And then we have Conquest Victory, defeat all enemy races. So that's what I was thinking about when I said Excellence Victory. So I guess Conquest Victory is non-selectable. It's just something that is always there, because that makes sense. If you're the last race left, you win. We also have 2 victory conditions that are currently not in the game: Economic Victory and Technological Victory. So, again, not in the game yet, so we'll have to see how that develops. Alright, so let's go ahead and choose our research.
Our scientists are eager to start. What should we focus on?
All right. So we have economics. This converts 50% of the production into BC credits. For trade goods, it's probably a selectable building option, somewhat similar to the way other games worked. If you weren't constructing anything, you could just set it to this and get some money. And we get colonial revenue services. This costs production to build, 60 to build, and it will give us 1 BC per population. Money is always good. Deep space exploration gives us at least 1 ship hull, which is civil transport. So it allows you to relocate population. All right. And we have fungal farms, which produce 2 food, which this is similar to a tech that was in the Master of Orion 2, but I don't remember what it was called. But it's very similar to this. It just gives you a flat 2 food production that you don't have to assign workers to get. So this, you don't need farmland, sunlight, or rain. And then we have Xeno relations, which gives us Xeno diplomacy, which unlocks a treaty that we can do. Okay. We've got physics. Automated factories give us, very similar to the way that this food production works, it gives us production points. And then we have a neutron blaster, which is a weapon. Physics sounds like a good idea. And I'm assuming this is how many turns it takes to research. So these ones are quite expensive. This one, not nearly as much. Then we have biology, which gives us another 2 food. Oh, hydroponic farm is what I was thinking of. So what is this then? It seems very similar. Oh, it's restricted to certain types of planets. So it gives you food for planets that aren't really good at producing food normally. So tundra, desert, barren. The one I was thinking about is hydroponic farm, which gives you just 2 food to any planet. And then we have biospheres, which give you food and research. Now, I think in the previous games, this would have given you extra population cap for a planet, but it doesn't seem like it works that way in this game. So we do see some tweaks here. And then we have engineering, which gives us a destroyer, and anti-missile rockets. You know, I'm going to go with physics because that sounds like the best move. Now, in Master of Orion 2, you usually would have a choice between the different technologies that were in this category. So if I selected physics and I were to unlock that, I would get a choice of either an automated factory or a neutron blaster. I'm not sure if this is the way this game works. Let's go ahead and select this, though.
Fantastic.
And we have a tech tree, which is a little bit different. So currently, we're working on physics. And because we did government is why we were able to do these things. Normally, if we didn't have that racial tech initially unlocked, we wouldn't have had these available to research off the bat. And we gain from this tech. Fortunately, it's not giving me the mouse overs. Do you have to click on it, maybe? There we go. So this gives me a research lab that I can build now, and a government support facility, which gives us a morale bonus. Okay. Now it has one highlighted in blue and the other in gray. Does that mean we already pre-selected the research lab over the government support facility? Not really certain, and that's something we're just going to have to find out when we do the research. Okay, what else do we've got here? Now, see, I'm kind of curious, though, with this bar. What does that bar denote? Is that a choice? Again, we're going to have to find this out as we go. Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. I'm not quite ready to advance the turn. I'm going to look at the Empire screen first. So these are the current planets that we have in our Empire. And it gives us an overview of population, how many are on strike, which is 0, our current morale. And it gives us also a description of Sol Prime. So it's medium, Class B Terran. with abundant resources. And this is how much it's producing. This is what it's producing. And I'm assuming if we click on that, we can adjust the different values. Now, in Master of Orion 2, you could actually change the production on this screen, if I remember correctly. So we don't have that quite at the moment. Now, one thing I might want to do here with production, if this is going to auto-produce, then we don't really need the production right now. So we can go for research instead. As we can see, now we need at least one guy here so that it gets produced, but we don't need that many. So I figure get the research while we can. Let's go ahead and click on this. So show queue. We want to add to the queue. There we go. All right, so this is what we can currently produce. I want a research lab. That's probably going to be a high priority, but we can also build some other ships. We get an idea of how many turns that would take with our current production. So 14 turns here, and so on. So I'm going to select this. And this gives us 2 research points pretty much automatically if we build it. And we'll adjust the production when this gets completed to match. Now we're currently producing 11 food. Do we need that much food? So by switching here, now that's one thing that I am finding a little bit different. In previous games, you would have had an amount of food that you would have to produce that would equal the population of the different planets. But we don't see our food production anywhere. I'm just curious, if I hit done and I go out of the Empire screen, do we get an idea of our food production? We don't. That's something we're going to have to stay on top of. But I guess with the Empire screen, we get an idea. So this, right now, with our current setup for our workers, we're not getting additional food. We're just meeting what our population needs. So it's saying +0. If we had other planets, we possibly could ferry that food to them to support them, and they wouldn't need a farmer to produce their own food. At least that's the way the previous games worked. But there was a mechanic with Master of Orion 2 that you needed freighters to be able to haul the stuff. I don't see that in this game, so that seems to be a departure as well. But I don't see a reason why to produce more food. I mean, it didn't adjust how much money we were getting. It could adjust, though, our population boost I'm seeing here. So maybe this makes our... next population, 35 turns. We take that away, there is no growth. So that's the point of having extra farmers. Okay, I see that now. Maybe there isn't that factor with new planets. You don't send them food. Not really sure. This seems more a mechanic that we would see in, like, Civilization rather than Master of Orion. As starvation is a real problem in all of the Master of Orion games I've played before this. Okay. It looks like we can set our tax rate. So we have 3 billion credits per population point. And it looks like our max is 5 billion credits. And we're kind of in the middle-ish of that. And we have our current research empire-wide, what we're researching, take 3 turns to do, and our empire focus, which can be any number of productions. So we could focus on food, research, production, or balanced as we are now. Okay, let's look at some of our other tabs here. So we have ship design. I'm not going to mess with this just now. I'm going to leave this for later. We have diplomacy. We don't know of any other alien races, so there's nobody here other than ourselves. Oh, interesting. It inputted my name, even though I never inputted that. I must have just pulled that from my Steam. All right. We already looked at Path to Victory. We have planets. And these are other planets that we know about. So we have Sol 2 here, which is a gas giant. Nothing else going on with that planet other than its abundant materials, but if we can't really access it, and it looks like we have got different biomes here, and gas giant is considered to be nothing, so non-inhabitable. Okay. And then we have fleets, and currently we have 2 fleets. We have these 2 ships going that way, and we have this ship going this way. Let's go ahead and end the turn. I think we've done everything there is to do.
Excuse me, President.
Alright, so we have the first colony ship. We can settle on any inhabitable planet. They carry 1 population unit, and they are not defended. They don't have any weapons, so you have to defend them yourselves. Okay. Well, in any case, I think I want to put a cut here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I look forward to covering this game more. I'm probably going to do some more footage here. I'm not sure how regularly I'm going to post videos on Master of Orion, because this is still early access, and there's going to be a lot of changes. But this is something I plan to cover. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and this is Mouse Gunner signing out.